You are the only participant in the conference.
Well, that's interesting. Greetings. I'm trying to get the switch. For whatever reason, now it's on here. So I'm not sure why that is. Let's see how. General cam. That should be okay. Then that should allow general cam to come here. I should be able to pick. Here I go with technology. I don't know why I can't select the camera to change on that one. So we're going to go to the screen share. Of course, if you can hear me, make sure to let me know so I can see how that goes. Why is this not? Start recording on that. Also record audio. All right. So we get things, make sure that's going. I'm not sure I understand why the camera is giving an issue. And it's not giving me a choice to select otherwise either. So that's great. So let's see. Because when I switch to here, on here, maybe that allows. Let's see. Oh, there we go. Okay, so there's Telegram. So that's how we're there. Now we should be able to do, maybe not on free conference call. Let's see. How does free conference call want to go? It doesn't want to go that way. I don't know why it's not showing from that port. Okay, so regardless, we're going to go with screen sharing so we can get this moving forward through free conference call so I can kind of have, oh, and I got a screen share in Telegram. And that's going to, I want that to be Rumble. And, don't I? Nope, I don't think I want that. I want that to be free conference call to get all of that in. Sorry for the delay. You know how it is. Make sure. And this should then be the desktop to be able to work with there. So let's get free conference call, getting it recording. Again, this is where the assembly is seeking status corrected nationals and or citizens that are interested in supporting the assembly. Maybe I can get this working here on Rumble. It should be hearing. I don't know why Rumble is not working with the camera. So we're going to just screen share so it can show what Telegram is showing. Let's see how that works. So Telegram, excuse me, Telegram. Okay, it's confusing. I don't know why it is. So oh, great. Can hear. Okay, so now make sure you put put your first name and what county on Indiana you live on so we can, so that we can include you in the record. Okay, everyone has to present themselves. We're Americans. We're not in hiding like U.S. citizens. Okay, so we're here to welcome you, and it will be put on a record. This is our public duty. All right, so I'm not really sure how that's supposed to happen. All right, so we'll go ahead. I've got that stuff going. I'm not really sure how Rumble looks. at this point. Let's see if it, start screen share. That would be helpful. All right. So we're going to show what Telegram is showing. Oh, okay. It's not showing it up in here. Okay. So hopefully we'll have those making comments to give me a heads up on if things are working through. So we'll go ahead and get things going. I am Christine Van Pelt. I'm the state coordinator and lead recording secretary for the Indiana Assembly, and the Indiana Assembly Jural and Militia Assemblies are in session. This is Monday, April the 22nd, 2024. It is Passover. And I'm new to working through the Passover process, but I welcome everyone and honor all that comes with that. So we want to take a moment and honor our Creator, to be grateful and show that gratitude of why we're here, and that we're also to remember that we are His children and why we're supposed to stand up for His truth. So let's go ahead and give Him that moment. All right. Reminders that 2 Corinthians 6, verse 7, by the word of truth, by the power of God, by the armor of righteousness on the right hand and on the left. And Ephesians 6, put on the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to stand against the assaults of the devil, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the worldly governors, the princes of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness which are in high places. This is not about religion. This is about, there are real enemies out there. There is true evil, and how to be able to stand up to it. And the very first thing is, Anna puts out, you want to make sure you're going to teach yourself not to lie. Because if you stop lying, because it all started with a lie to ourselves. And if we stop lying to ourselves, we'll stop allowing others to lie to us, and we'll see clearly through their lies. Stand firm. Have your armor of God on. Okay, so in the agenda is the table of contents. These are hyperlinked to be able to go to those segments for you. We do not go through every bit of this, but it is a lot of material. That way you have it with you so that you can be able to, because a lot of it is having that repetition, because we will be following it. We are following it. All right, let me check before we do this real quick. Again, you want to make sure that you're putting your first name and what county on Indiana that you live on. Nothing is showing. You can hear me, okay, but you're still not seeing anything on Rumble. So let's see how we can maybe, well, we'll just go to the screen share. That should help you. There we, hopefully. Does that work for you? We'll go ahead and get that reading as well. This is the Bivens decision, and you can see Bivens versus 6 unknown agents, 403 U.S. 388 from 1971. I'm not sure if my Rumble is even working correctly. It keeps saying start the screen share. So I'm screen sharing. Okay, so this meeting is private. Bearing false witness, misrepresentation, and posting inflammatory rhetoric in public forums is forbidden and shall be addressed in an appropriate manner. To eliminate all conflict and false allegations, is there anyone in attendance at today's meeting that is a member of any law enforcement agency or agency of the federal, state, county, city, or township agencies present? Is there any response to the Bivens decision for the first time? And again, you need to put what your first name is and what county on Indiana where you live today that you call home. Okay, it is a public record, and we're Americans, and we face what's going on. We're not in hiding. And again, it's a public record. I don't know why that keeps popping out for that screen share, but okay, I'm not sure exactly what's going on. All right, so hearing and seeing none, but I'm seeing that there are others in the call. We need to, you're going to have to present yourself. Oh, Johnny's on, but isn't going to be able to, because I don't know how the chat works. I think you should be able to do that now. Okay, so hearing and seeing none, is there any response to the Bivens decision for the second time? Hearing and seeing none, is there any response to the Bivens decision for the third and final time? All right. Maybe, well, I don't want the whole entire screen, I guess. Further, anyone who is here under false pretenses, anyone who is working for any foreign government, including territorial United States or municipal United States, anyone who is being paid or coerced to be here must fully disclose their presence and purpose now or leave the premises. Are you now or have you ever received money or personal support of any kind from the intelligence community? And again, we're not here in hiding. That's U.S. citizens. U.S. citizens come in every name but their own name, and they duck and run. They want to be recognized, but don't. We're Americans here, and we're standing firm because we're not allowing this crap to go forward. And this is what we're here for. All right, a disclaimer. We are engaged in the practice of self-government. That's why it's called We the People. It means by the people. The people have to actually fill the vacant offices. We're the ones that have failed to do our job. Stop being an armchair quarterback. Everyone here is volunteering. There is no paid salary here because there's no IRS mafia trying to steal the money. Everyone here is volunteering their precious time and skill. Everyone is an American with rights and prerogatives equal to your own. They're doing this work out of mutual necessity to restore the lawful American government. Demands for service, temper tantrums, and misplaced anger are inappropriate. This country doesn't belong to its government. The country belongs to the people that live here. And you're one of them. But that means you have to roll up your sleeves and do the work too and not be an armchair quarterback. All right, so I'm not Rumble. I'm not sure what's going on with Rumble, but it's not necessarily playing well. Oh, I can move on that, scroll with that. Okay. All right. Reminder, assembly participation and behavior guidelines. And it comes from Article 3022, focus for assemblies. The nationality is a birthright, but assembly membership is a choice. If you want to join, you're going to be put to work, but there's also going to be boundaries. You don't get just a free reign, nor do you also get to just come in and hold up space, but not actually getting any work done. All right. We're not here to deprive anybody of their birthright, but we can and must throw disruptive people out of meetings and refuse to let them interfere with getting the work done. Just the same as those that are not wanting to participate. You have to be actually being, there's many things that you can do to participate without getting so deeply involved if that's your concern. There's a lot of things that you can be able to do to still be able to participate. But it's that you have to stand up and be yourself and be present and show up as your best self. You want others to be open and connecting with you, then you have to do the same as well. Isn't that what Yeshua said? If you want to be treated that way, then treat others that way. But it's also, how do you treat yourself? If you're treating yourself like you're hiding and lying to yourself, you know, well, that's how everybody else is going to see you as well, and that's how they'll treat you. I am not sure what's going on with Rumble, but it's showing that there's others on Rumble as well as you are locals. Okay, so I'm not. Oh, how does that work? Okay, cool. All right, that's the new one. All right, so I don't know if that screen shared that. Probably not. All right, so we'll get back to this. All right, so participation in assemblies is getting because we got to get the work done, right? So regardless, so participation in assemblies is predicated on them being polite and productive members of the community. It's not about platitudes and looking like you're busy doing work. It's actually that you say what you mean and you do what you say. You follow through with it. You don't come around because you're just looking for everybody because you've got that holding that office, but you don't actually do anything. We got that already sitting over there, and you're more than welcome to go over there to do that. The assemblies are business organizations engaged in very serious and important business. We have to set the tone for new members and establish the group values so that the group as a whole disciplines people to be polite, logical, businesslike, and mature. The moment anyone starts acting like a seventh grader and gossiping and being paranoid, it's up to the whole group to let that person know that that behavior pattern is not appropriate, not productive, not appreciated, and won't be tolerated. Shun gossip and fear mongering, and it will disappear. But also, so too, if you see those that want to be the fly on the wall and are just trying to hang around, they don't want to have the camera on, they don't want to engage in conversation, whether it's via the mic or via the chat, well, start asking them questions, see how they are. Start connecting with them, help draw them out of the shell, because we have to stand up. We cannot continue to hide. We have to stand up. You cannot continue to be turn the other cheek as they're walking all over you and then still run right back to them and think that they're your total truth and honesty of everything. All right, so right now we have myself. I'm on Gibson County, which is all the way in the bottom left corner in the foot part, but not the very last county in the bottom. And we have Johnny on Telegram. Can you let us know what county you're on, Johnny? Because we want to make sure we welcome you. Because hello, Hendricks County. And why do we want to make sure that we recognize you? Because you just got on the land this week, and we want to make sure we welcome you home. Yay! Woohoo! All right. It's a long road, but it's going to be a fun road as well. So, but it's also only going to be as much as you put in it, right?
Okay. Yeah.
All right. So let me get back to. Oh, it is screen. It is screen sharing. Oh, and I want it to make sure it keeps that too. Okay. All right, because I will be doing a video here or an audio reading here in just a moment. Okay, so I'll be adding in the presentation here that Johnny on Hendricks County is on Telegram. We have others on, but evidently I'm having troubles with Rumble. I'm not exactly sure what is going on with Rumble. But it is what it is. We just got to keep right on going. Okay, so these are the things that we're going to be running through this evening. But mostly it's starting to get into reading through Ex parte Milligan. It is the foundational law case that allows for jurisdiction of nationals to that they're outside of jurisdiction of the court system. And it was all here on Indiana in 1866. It's a lengthy read. It's over 200 some pages. So we're not reading that all tonight. So we're going to be breaking that up on the Jural assembly calls, which is the first and third Mondays right now, until those have put in their requests of a better day and time, so we can put it before the assembly for a vote, if that's possible, to change the day and time the assembly calls. But then you got to show up for the new day and time if you voted for it, right? Okay, so so we're gonna be having readings through that, roughly 15-20 minutes, depending on the segment. It may have to be a little bit longer if it shortly finishes it up. But we're starting that one this evening. We're gonna do just a brief over of key officials needed essentially right now, and the list of honest current articles, and a little bit of information on militia and PKTF needs, and then we'll be wrapping up. Now, we want to make sure that we don't end the call for whatever reason, because there are a lot of trains that go through here. Sometimes it can have hiccups. We know Rumble is already having some kind of hiccup with us, but we want to make sure we don't end on a CNA, DNA DA type of situation. So we want to make sure that now Monday the 6th of May will be the next General Assembly call that we'll meet, and then May the 13th will be the next Jural Assembly call. So we'll be reading then the next segment on the ex parte Milligan case at that point. Some reminders that we're all, in a sense, coordinators, because we're all here a part of this mission to make this build happen. So these are things that we, as from the Federation level, all the assembly state coordinators, this is our mission that we work with. We cannot fail. We're willing and able to do this work physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. We have resolve and determination. We walk the talk and work every day to bring the du jour into reality. We have excellent tools to complete our work. We set realistic and achievable goals. We learn and research constantly. We have a timeline. Again, there's no reason why we can't get this done this year. We're Indiana. We're the light bearers, remember? We track our progress. We measure our strengths and weaknesses. We continually improve and revise accordingly, and we conduct ourselves with peace and love. So some information of spotting infiltrators. There are those that most likely can be highly trained and well-paid operatives, and they're able to do those long-term 5, 10, even 15 years or longer type of embedding. But then there are also those that are deeply indoctrinated by the system, and they don't realize that they've become the infiltrator themselves, because they're right there to be that informant, to go tell whatever they know, even though that's all illegal. But they'll bend for that at every moment, every turn. So here's some information to give you some clues to be able to help you to notice if there's infiltrators, because we all have to work together to be able to stand up against them. Here are also a list of the modus operandi that they follow, and that they have shown through the assemblies. This is from Honest Article 3374, the warning signs. And it always, the main one, this was why this was first, is the attack the leaders, the state coordinator, because they think the coordinator's being too mean, or the coordinator's asking more of me. I'm a national. I'm already on the land. I shouldn't have to present. They should believe me. Well, U.S. citizens are here, believe in hearsays, and I said so's because they want to be bullies, and they want to skirt around and get out of doing anything that's responsible. And Americans were based on action, facts, and evidence. Foundation, something solid. And they can't handle that. But of course, and that's where it comes in, where they attack the elements of the paper, the paperwork process, because they're sure that their paperwork has to be accepted regardless, and because it's their intent. Well, you can put whatever type of paperwork you want on a county recorder's office, but you're only putting land and soil jurisdiction documents on the land and soil jurisdiction recording tool. They also want to attack the assembly process because they really don't want to do any work themselves. So it's just a constant finding another reason to delay. And this is all right here. This is all prime examples of one of the 7 deadliest sins, and that's called sloth. They want you to believe it's called laziness, but it's beyond laziness. It's the laziness to literally not complete or fulfill your own personal responsibilities and duties. It's failure to be responsible for yourself and your own duties. That's the laziness of it. They want you to just think that you're just being a slow, cute sloth. Isn't he all sweet and cute? But no, he has harmed his own self because he doesn't take care of responsibilities or any duties. It continues on here with more of the types of attacks that they use. And here is a link to that article directly. All right, the Indiana mission statement, get to know it. They're the 7 items that are the mission, the goals that have to be filled. This is the same mission statement for every state assembly so that we're all in alignment with being on the land and soil. We are not here to do any reformation. This was already in process from 1776 to 1851 until they just stopped doing it. Okay, because why? Because people got lazy and stopped showing up to fulfill their own role as we the people. They wanted the of the people to be recognized. They wanted the for the people to be recognized. But it's that by the people. They said, we'll get somebody else to do it. And look where we're at. So it's really us that have been failing to do our job. And this is our responsibility right here. And this is our mission. There are 7 missions identified here that have to be, that is an ongoing thing for the assemblies to work towards. And this is their actual mission, their ongoing mission. Our Indiana Assembly is dedicated to the restoration, not the reformation. We're restoring what was already in place of a complete and fully operational land and soil jurisdiction, state and county court system serving the people of Indiana. We have to get our court. We will not be recognized as our own government until our own court system is up. You want to help the people, you get the court system in play to get them out of their courts. The preservation of the national trust, the enforcement of the public law. We have to actually fight back against them and say, no, that's not exactly what you're supposed to be doing. Regardless of which one of the 3 constitutions, they got to be held accountable to it. The upholding of the federal constitution owed to our state and people to be able to get what's owed back to us because of those constitutions. The repopulation of our land and soil jurisdiction. That is where, as you're putting your paperwork on the record, you're assembling your county and your state, land and soil by default coming together. They can't be separated. The filling of the vacated public offices. We're not filling their roles. We have all the offices over here for this assembly that has to be filled that have been vacated by the people. And the reclamation of our material and intellectual public and private assets. That's where part of it comes in, is the assembly is going to have to reclaim all of the material and public and private assets from the de facto that have stolen it. To these ends, we, the living people of Indiana, have called the eligible Indiana nationals and citizen electors to assemble and to serve as jurors and officers. And we have established the process and procedure to qualify jurors and others competent to hold state citizenship and public office. We do this peacefully and without rancor in the exercise of our unincorporated powers and capacities. And I really hope I'm still screen sharing. It should be coming through on something, I'm hoping. Yeah, that should still be. Okay, so the outreach mission is to help people understand who they are, why they were misidentified as U.S. citizens of the United States, and provide a solution by correcting their political status, joining the Indiana Assembly, including home county assembly, because that happens by default, and becoming actively involved in restoring the Republican form of government we are owed. The democracy is not ours. Stop blurring Republican and democracy. The democracy, yes, it is in jeopardy. We are not the democracy. They are. So they're behaving exactly how they're supposed to be as a democracy. Stop supporting them. They're not your true and lawful government. And they only have boundaries within Washington, D.C. You've all allowed them to come into our own states. Okay, so the Indiana Assembly, restoring the Republican form of government we're owed. We do this through a combination of consulting, facilitation, and training services. So we have high-impact video conferencing, turnkey political correction process, web-based libraries, local assembly meetings, state assembly meetings, continental marshal, and deputy. Now, we don't have local assembly meetings at this point in time because those that are on their own county still have to be able to crawl out and say, hey, we're willing to come together and look at it. We want to see each other on camera, but we don't want to have our camera on. We want to see what others are doing, but we don't want them to know that we're here. Stop hiding. That's what you're only lying to yourself. Okay, value statements. We stand under the laws of nature, the laws of nature's God, the 10 Commandments, the Declaration of Independence. We accept the fiduciary responsibility of the Indiana Trust and operate under the prudent man standard, meaning we treat our state business as if it were our own business without personal gain. We keep the peace and uphold the public law. We report crime. And that's the crime that they're doing. We report that crime. We don't just allow them to do it or ignore it. We value each man and woman as a unique creation of our Creator and recognize them as a powerful co-creator. We willingly choose to self-govern and strive to show up as our best self in each and every experience. Not just showing up. Show up as your best self. Come forward. Show us who you are. You want to know who others are. Well, start letting yourself be known. Same thing. Law of attraction is exactly what Yeshua said about love your neighbor as yourself. If you want to be treated and loved and cared for better, start treating yourself better. And that means you have to also then treat others better as well. We do not or will not condone or participate in any form of insurrection, rebellion, or creation of armed forces other than the lawful state assemblies. Militias operated as they're supposed to be operated within each state, and our land-based Continental Marshal Service, which is our jurisdictional interface with the U.S. Marshal Service. Jurisdictional interface, it doesn't mean that the U.S. Marshal Service is connected to us. It's the jurisdictional interface. We perform under the treaties and constitutional agreements already established, and for supporting so there's nothing new needs to be created to make this happen. And for supporting the restored American government, the reconstruction thereof, and will become responsible for the conduct of the restored Confederation and Federal Republic. You're not responsible for the democracy's conduct other than you got to get them back in their own space. They've been crouched all the way out. Okay, here are important Indiana documents. So there's the Assembly Affirmation and Purpose in Conduct. This is for you to read through, for you to decide, is that something that you can agree to? You're not making a contract of any sort with the Assembly, but you're agreeing to whether you're on the same purpose and willing to present yourself better than what's out there. If you have a problem with that, you need to maybe check yourself as to why. But it's not an agreement. So whatever tried and twist you want to come up with, that's debunked. And this contact info for the Assembly, that is so that we know what information can be shared at what various levels, so that not only for others within your county to be able what information to share with them, but also what's needed throughout the General Assembly, Jural Assembly, and Militia for the various needs within those assemblies. The India and the first two, you will print those out autograph in blue ink, please don't send it with black ink. We're using blue ink now. Okay? The affirmation of purpose and conduct, put your thumbprint on it. You don't need your thumbprint on the contact information. And then you're going to email a PDF, not a photo, to records at theindianassembly.org to be able to put with your assembly record. Then there's the assembly.
I cannot see the screen.
Where are you at?
I'm on Telegram.
You're on Telegram. Okay. All right. So I don't know why that is. Well, hold on.
I see you though.
You see me. All right.
Yes.
So. It keeps shutting things off. Okay. Good?
Yep, I see it. Thank you.
There we go. Okay. Thank you for telling me, letting me know. Again, this is all Mercury retrograde kind of thing going on. I still don't need... See, I think I just kicked out Rumble from the screen sharing again. This should be it. Okay. All right. So then there's the Indiana Assembly men and women points of order of how to conduct yourself within the assembly of conducting business. That is for your reference. You don't have to autograph anything to return it. That's for you to maintain so you can follow and study with that. The Assembly Militia Standards and Principles. One, the Indiana Assembly men and women points of order that was presented to the Assembly and move forward there. The Assembly Militia Standards and Principles that came forward from the Peacekeeper Task Force in order to ensure that it's not being directed and pushed into any kind of military-like type thing that could become a problem. They needed to make sure that it was going to maintain land and soil standards and principles. Committees, and that again is one for your I think the rest of this pretty much is for your own records then, so you have for your backup information and re-study. The committees, the way we work, recommended committee structure template, these, because all the work actually gets done in the committees. The General Assembly is the driver of it all. The General Assembly puts the committees to work. And that's where you actually can then step up and do work there. But there's a lot of things that you can step up to do that's not on this type. Like you can step up to be able to support with being a moderator on Telegram to make sure that there aren't any inappropriate conversations going on, making sure to welcome people as they come into Telegram. Same thing with the comments on the different social media platforms and things like those are ways to be able to help. Things like that. Standard operating procedures template. So that has been developed to be able to give the committees the ability to create a process, a plan, so that they can be able to actually get the work done that was assigned by the assembly to them and have it done in a timely manner with actual deliverables. So there can't be any delay tactics like they use in the de facto. The call to public office, assembly offices, that is more details about the different roles of the public offices and what their requirements are. Yes, it is a public duty and it goes on the public record. So that's why we always say you don't have to give last name, contact info, anything like that. You can, and if you are connecting with others, you might want to do a private kind of chat instead of the group chat to be able to share contact information like that. But that way you can be able to, connect with each other through the chat as well and talk. But it is your public duty, and we identify, because like in the updates for other calls, we try to identify what counties were present on those calls if it wasn't something that lists it like it does for the assembly calls, things like that. All right, here is the manual for the law of peace. Just like there is a manual for the law of war, there is also the one for law of peace under the United Nations, the law for the law of nations, not United Nations, but the law of nations, where you can't have war without peace. So that's the law of peace. And that's going to have to be a separate side thing because that's even lengthier than the ex parte Milligan. That's something that's also one of those that you're going to need some of those deep inner times to be able to think about. We finished last week in the last few weeks of reading Common Law Community Training Manual, establishing the reign of natural liberty, the common law and its courts. That's the full PDF of it that gives us some action plans on some of the processes to get started. And then these are the important articles for everyone to remember that you have three choices. You can either be here and follow as land and soil jurisdiction, or you can, if you didn't want to let go of all the indoctrination and programming, there are district and municipal assemblies out there that will support those behaviors. All right, so we have Faith Monument is the plan for a countrywide travel trip, November 11th of this year. Here's a short TikTok video and then a longer documentary about Faith Monument that was built by our forefathers for the creation of this country. We're on Telegram, which I want to show you on Telegram. I hope I can be able to do a screen share here to show it. And Johnny, you're in Telegram, so you'll be able to see it. I got us change it in free conference call to desktop. So free conference call, and I think Rumble should be seeing that as well for desktop. Yeah, to show this was a great picture. Only you can build your Jural assembly. I thought that was great. Look nowhere else. Okay, and we have on Telegram, we have At Home on Indiana, which is where we're running a live stream as well. And I try to click over the recordings from the previous calls. And we also have the new general member orientation. Everyone should be getting into this. It's not just about if you are wanting to support the assembly or not. It's got a lot of your basic everyday how to walk as an American and sorting through things. And here are several topics with items within here to give you some support. This is a build in process as well, but some information to be able to help you with. They're out there on Telegram, and we're trying to make that a communication hub to be able to support us. So please do connect in as often as possible, as well as the American States Assembly chat is here that you can be able to find, and the peacekeeping task force for the federation level. Okay, so ways to be able to support or have other communications. Oh, all right. Are you trying to say that you have video? All right, so we've got, finally, I'm getting some responses through Rumble. It's been having some hiccups here. All right, so we have, and YouTube. All right, so we have John on Carroll County on YouTube. So we can make sure that we include this. And Johnny's on Telegram. He is on Hendricks County. And we have Scott Gallagher. I don't know if he's on Rumble or not. Just a reminder, you still need to put what county you're on and your first name. We are land and soil jurisdiction. This is not just about how we can do some shortcuts to get things going. You're actually going to follow the process. So we'll go ahead and keep this going. All right. I do. Let's see. So here's a run through. This is the part that we're filling. This is our responsibility to fill. And then it goes through some of the breakdowns of the General Assembly, the Business Assembly, Jural Assembly, and Militia. Everyone is a part of the General Assembly. Everyone is a part of the Jural and Militia. Only citizens are a part, have the standing and authority with the Business Assembly. But that's also that you can't just declare that you're a citizen, but you also at the same time have to follow through with canceling the contracts. The General Assembly is the driver of everything. So everything starts in the General Assembly that moves the business forward through in the other pillars. Here's more details of the different pillars, and that the General Assembly is the standing committee as a whole, as I was saying, in that it's the driver of all the of getting the business work moving forward. Here is a chart of the 4 pillars and what the different offices and roles are within those. And so you can see which one those are. And these are currently public offices that need to be filled. Every one of them needs to be filled. All right. So we wanted to welcome Johnny on Hendricks County. Again, he is on Telegram with us this evening. And we want to welcome him home. He completed presenting his paperwork on the record. Again, the bare minimum. You have to present a current valid photo ID coming in the name and the address where you live today. Or if it doesn't have the address you live today, because that's understandable, but you still regardless have to present either a utility bill or a rent or lease, mortgage payment, something like that is in your the name that you're coming in and the address that you're using. Now, the name that you're coming in is called your trade name. It's no longer the U.S. name. That's whatever name you've decided to come up with for that process. Then you're also going to present your birth certificate and any supporting documentation of any legal name changes that goes for as you've grown up. If there were any legal name changes, that's to be included. And then 1779 Declaration of Naturalization and 2 witness testimonies from 2 different people that have known you a minimum of 7 years. No, you don't just say, hey, would you be interested in saying that you're a friend of mine? That's not how this works. We're not like U.S. citizens based on hearsays and I said so's and still want to be an armchair quarterback. We're like those like Johnny here on Hendricks County. He's been coming to the new member orientation calls. He's been showing up to the assembly calls even before his paperwork was on the record this week. So that's starting to show behavior that is what we're looking for. Even though if you're not seeing others on the call and you're not still, we're Indianians, we're light bearers. Be that light bearer, be that example, and still show up. Hold down the fort. Still be there. Be that familiar face so that when those do finally crawl out of the woodwork and decide that they want to show up and be themselves and be on the call and be there and be present, they'll have a face to recognize because they've seen that you've been there. And you've been holding steady. You've been holding that light and the door open for them to come in. We're here to help each other, but you have to show up too. And show up as your best self, not your grumpiest, crappiest self. All right. The counties here in green have at least one man or woman that has presented the bare minimum on their county. That means that county has been populated. The ones that are in yellow, at least one man or woman that living on Indiana has stated that they're at least interested in getting more information. All right. They haven't presented their paperwork yet, but they're at least interested in getting more information. And then the white ones that are in white there, no one has spoken up on those counties yet. Now, if you're in a green county or a yellow county, talk to your county next to you. Start sharing the word, share the website information, print out these one pagers from within the assembly presentations, that you have a physical piece of paper that you can use as a method of outreach, because we're all a part of outreach. That when you, instead of sitting on a break and sitting on your cell phone, you could pull that out and you could be reading it. And then all of a sudden others are going to see that example and say, hey, what are you reading? We've noticed you've been stopping to read that. What's that all about? Well, you don't have to worry about if you don't know it yet, because you've got it in front of you with all the answers on what's on that one pager. Okay, we have a few of those one pagers that nails down right into what the information is. And you can be able to share that with others and start getting them to the website to connect in, start getting them to the calls. But it's also, it's not just we may come over and listen in on your call. No, it's start getting involved. You want to be part of we the people. You've got to fulfill the buy part. Okay. Now here is a breakdown of, and here we see, because when I put this together was the 15th, and then he was able to present his paperwork for the record. So here again is the counties, just like on the map here, same thing. And you can be able to see what counties, and I did not put obviously all the list of the ones that are dormant within here. There's no point in that. But then you can see, and it's not about getting somebody that's already presented their status correction to see if they'll be a witness for you. No, they have to actually know you. Don't coerce someone into lying. That's a U.S. citizen approach. All right, so if you want more information about the prosperity card update, as well as if you are receiving the assembly emails, you will have gotten an email that said prosperity card information, and it will have this link as well as to that process. But you only have access to it if you've presented your status correction, completed your status correction. It is not available to U.S. citizens, so you can dodge and skirt to play the game of not getting on the record yet, but you're only holding yourself up as well as everyone else in getting access to these benefits, because the sooner we get the state court up and functioning, the sooner the Indiana Assembly can be recognized as its own government. The state coordinator, there is not a state coordinator that can fill any of those assembly office roles. We cannot fill any of those assembly office roles. The recording secretary is not one of the 4 pillars. The state coordinator cannot do any of the roles within any of the pillars. It has to come from you guys. So while you think, well, we'll just wait and we'll make Christine take care of all the work. Christine can't do all the work. This is you. I can't step up to help in any of those other areas until either the assembly is standing and the state coordinator's role sunsets, or someone else that does have the care and concern of the assembly and the Indianians, and not just thinking they're trying to get a power seat, that actually is going to be helpful and be constructive and be able to be that strong force to help as coordinator. I may step down at that point, but I can't step down at this point. I'm not leaving it all out for everybody to just hang out there, because I've been committed to this since even before 2019. I've been the state coordinator since 2019. A lot, just like the very last line in the Declaration of Independence. A lot. My family has supported a lot to help keep this assembly going, to keep things moving forward. Again, it's by the people. Everybody has to do this. We're volunteers. There is not a salary here. There is no IRS enforcer to steal money to bring the money in here. It is by the people. By the people. You have to do it. You have to get off your arms. You have to get out of your sofa. Get off your butt. You have to actually do something. Stop looking around for everybody else, waiting to watch to see, well, what are you doing? Well, what are they doing? And what's going on over here? That's elementary school. We're grown-ups here. We're self-governing. Stand up. All right. Making sure that you have your, you're going to want to also check your, the address, location where you live, and the voter registration portal thing, because some are using that to steal votes with. So just, you don't have to, that's not something to present to the assembly, but that's something for you to follow up and check on yourself. Making sure that you are connecting into the assembly's email server. You have to follow through with checking. They're pumping everything into spam. It's tech warfare. And it's called self-governing. It means that you have to say that, yes, you want to follow through with receiving it. I can't do it for you. I can't go into your email. Well, I'm not getting any of your emails, so you must not be sending them. No, if you go look in your spam, they're there. Okay, but you have to push it, and you have to actually open the emails and not just preview them. Make sure you're checking your junk and spam mails. All right, so here are some opportunities for support to help within the assembly that's not actually on the committee, so you don't have to worry about not trying to get into too deep of work if you don't want to yet. All right, so the last few weeks, an email had gone out to state nationals and state citizens that had presented to the assembly, and they voted on the public law 81010124, which claims all of our stuff back and authorizes extraterritorial force and administrative expenses, and public law A1010224, which removes all the purported immunity. And we wrapped that up. It was unanimous, and I did get that email out to the Federation to be able to publish to the federal record on the 50 state site, but you'll also be able to see that it's already posted on the Indiana Assembly site under public record. And you'll be able to see it there, read both of those public laws. And in that, there is not currently a General Assembly chairperson pro tem. The state coordinator was authorized to be able to sign off on that ballot. So you'll be able to see that history there. Information to share with attorneys, doctors, and all is on this drive. It does have the sole survivor template, but make sure you know you can use all the documents in there, obviously at your own risk, but do not use that sole survivorship template unless you've course corrected. Because if you have not course corrected correctly, not how you think you've done it, course corrected correctly, you can get into serious trouble for that, because you cannot access services and opportunities of Americans if you're not an American. You're a U.S. citizen. You're accountable for that debt, and you will get into trouble for that. But you can also send it out to all attorneys, just as a notice, even if they haven't sent you anything and you're trying to get the information out to inform them, for all attorneys, doctors, everyone. But then if you have status corrected, you can use that sole survivor template with the information to share to be able to send to all those that are just trying to collect a tax. All right, so here we are with the, before I do that, I want to take a moment because before the call, my husband and I were watching this, and I wanted to, hopefully, Rumble should still be, let's see, Telegram is showing it good, okay. I'm not quite sure about free conference call. I'm going to stop for a moment and then reset it for it to do share desktop. Okay. Now, hopefully these things should be able to give the sound with it. It's just a short version. This is from We the People Insider 1776. It had just come out about 2 hours ago. There's only a snippet in there where they're playing from a video from another woman. But you'll understand why. And it was just that I thought this was very fitting for us.
Going there after the sponsors. So here we go. I don't know who the TikTok is. Introverts 008. For anybody interested that won't be able to probably make that out on their screen.
So basically everyone keeps asking me, how do we win? How do we win against these like governments and these elite parasites that keep bringing in these laws? Well, the law is just a word on a piece of paper. Why are you following it? It's called mass non-compliance. Don't comply. Oh, but I'm going to get in trouble. So what? Don't be afraid. You want to know what Bosnia did? And I'm from Bosnia. So I was born in former Yugoslavia. I'm half Serbian and went through a war, lived in a refugee camp. And now I come here and you're going to tell me that Sock Boy is going to tell me what to do. I'm going to show you a picture of who Sock Boy looks up to. Klaus Schwab. Here's a picture of that darling. Yeah. That's Klaus.
Warning.
That's who Justin Trudeau looks up to. And you guys literally listen to what he says. Oh, well, the health services, screw the health services. Oh, but it's an emergency. So what? It's just a word. Stop complying. The reason why they are going so power hungry now is because so many people complied. The government literally told you to jump off of a bridge and you did it. And then you followed your friends because your friends and neighbors did it. So what? Screw them. If people don't like you, that is not your problem. That is their problem. You have your own life. You need to find that God-given right. You are a sovereign human being. You can do what you please. If you don't want to put something in your body, don't put it in there. There's more of us. There's always someone who thinks exactly like you. So start being an independent human being. Why are you listening to the government and what they tell you? And I'm going to say this as well. If they bring in environmental officers and they come onto my property, I'm going to take your tires. I'm going to sell them on like Facebook Marketplace for $2. Why? Just because. Next time you come on, I'll take your tires and your doors and your alternator. Call the cops. See if I care. What are you going to do? Send me back to Serbia? Cool. Like, I'm down. So stop being afraid. And you want to know what they did in Bosnia during 2020? The government's like, yeah, we need to shut down. And Bosnians were like, no. And then the government couldn't do anything. And then when they tried bringing in like the passports, guess what? Like Serbia did. They're like, yeah, we'll just make fake ones. What could they do? And then when the cops started to actually enforce the night curfews, yeah, a bunch of people went and jumped them. What are you going to do? There's more of us than there are them. And only your compliance gives them power. So stop complying. There's no need for wars. There's no need for protests. There's no need for anything. But if you come on my property and you take my chickens, I'm going to go to my mayor's house. I'm going to take his couch. That's how we play this. So stop complying. Due to everyone's mass compliance in 2020 and 2021, these lot lizard elite loser parasites have now gone power hungry. And this is exactly what we told you would happen. So I want everybody to find that fire in them, that sovereign human being, and stop complying. That's it. That's all we need.
All right. So that was... And I'll make sure and put the link in the agenda presentation when I send it out. But I thought that was poignant. Now, she earlier in the clip, as they were setting it up, she is on Canada. She lives in Canada, but it's still, and that's why she was talking about who that their leader looks up to. And pardon that picture, but that's where we should be adults here, and can handle ourselves maturely. We understand have the knowledge of what's going on. All right. So now what I want to do, I've got to stop screen sharing. I think Rumble should be fine. Still with the desktop type of sharing. Let me see Telegram. Telegram is doing desktop as well. So now I need to go to pull up this, and I think I have this in free conference call. Okay, so stop sharing free conference call there to go to broadcaster. Oh, I gotta have Telegram. Huh. All the technology. Telegram needs to go to free conference call and share the audio. Okay, so that it can get this. And then I'll get Rumble going here as well.
Greetings, this is Christine Van Pelt on Gibson County, Indiana, State Coordinator and Lead Reporting Secretary for the Indiana Assembly, and we are reading Ex parte Milligan from Court Case
Lake County, all right.
1866, 71 U.S. 2, 1866. Provost et al. V. Provost. This court cannot take jurisdiction on a certificate of division in a case where the question certified is one of fact and can only be determined by an examination of the evidence in the record. This case came here on a certificate of division from the Circuit Court of the United States for the Eastern District of Pennsylvania. The record showed a litigation in respect to an alleged fraud in obtaining a deed of large tracts of land by the principal defendant from the complainant. The decree found the fraud alleged and held the deed null as to the principal defendant, but stated that the judges were opposed in opinion on the question whether his 4 co-defendants, who claimed by deeds under him, were chargeable as privies to the fraud, and this question was accordingly certified to this court. I'm thinking that abbreviation is Messengers. Brent and Merritt moved to dismiss the case for want of jurisdiction. The Chief Justice, the question is one of fact and can only be determined by an examination of the evidence in the record. And it has been repeatedly determined that only questions of law upon distinct points in a cause can be brought to this court by certificate. An order must be made, therefore, demanding this cause to the circuit court without answer to the question certified for want of jurisdiction. Ex parte Milligan. 1. Circuit courts, as well as the judges thereof, are authorized by the 14th section of the Judiciary Act to issue the writ of habeas corpus for the purpose of inquiring into the cause of commitment, and they have jurisdiction except in cases where the privilege of the writ is suspended, to hear and determine the question whether the party is entitled to be discharged. 2. The usual course of proceeding is for the court, on the application of the prisoner for the writ of habeas corpus, to issue the writ and on its return to hear the principle of the case. But where the case of imprisonment is fully shown by the petition, the court may, without issuing the writ, consider and determine whether upon the facts presented in the petition the prisoner, if brought before the court, would be discharged. 3. When the circuit court renders a final judgment refusing to discharge the prisoner, he may bring the case here by writ of error. And if the judges of the circuit court, being opposed in opinion, can render no judgment, he may have the point upon which the disagreement happens certified to this tribunal. 4. A petition for a writ of habeas corpus duly presented is the institution of a cause on behalf of the petitioner, and the allowance or refusal of the process, as well as the subsequent disposition of the prisoner, is matter of law and not of discretion. 5. A person arrested after the passage of the Act of March 3rd, 1866 63 relating to habeas corpus and regulating judicial proceedings in certain cases, and under the authority of the said act, was entitled to his discharge if not indicted or presented by the grand jury convened at the first subsequent term of the Circuit or District Court of the United States for the district. 6. The omission to furnish a list of the persons arrested to the judges of the Circuit or District Court is provided in the said act did not impair the right of such person if not indicted or presented to his discharge. 7 military commissions organized during the late Civil War in a state not invaded and not engaged in rebellion, in which the federal courts were open and in the proper and unobstructed exercise of their judicial functions, had no jurisdiction to try, convict, or sentence for any criminal offense. A citizen who was neither a resident of a rebellious state, nor a prisoner of war, nor a person in the military or naval service, and Congress could not invest them with any such power. Number 8, the guarantee of trial by jury contained in the Constitution was intended for a state of war as well as a state of peace, and is equally binding upon rulers and people at all times and under all circumstances. Number 9, the federal authority having been unopposed in the state of Indiana, and the federal courts open for the trial of offenses and the redress of grievances, the usages of war could not, under the Constitution, afford any sanction for the trial there of a citizen in civil life not connected with the military for naval service by a military tribunal for any offense whatever. Number 10, cases arising in the land or naval forces or in the militia in the time of war or public danger are excepted from the necessity of presentment or indictment by a grand jury and the right of trial by jury in such cases as subject to the same exemptions. Number 11, neither the President nor Congress nor the judiciary can disturb any one of the safeguards of civil liberty incorporated into the Constitution, except so far as the right is given to suspend in certain cases the privilege of the writ of habeas corpus. Number 12, a citizen not connected with the military service and resident in a state where the courts are open and in the proper exercise of their jurisdiction cannot, even when the privilege of the writ of habeas corpus is suspended, be tried, convicted, or sentenced otherwise than by the ordinary courts of law. 13. Suspension of the privilege of the writ of habeas corpus does not suspend the writ itself. The writ issues as a matter of course, and on its return, the court decides whether the applicant is denied the right of proceeding any further. Number 14, a person who is a resident of a loyal state where he was arrested, who was never a resident in any state engaged in rebellion nor connected with any military or naval service, cannot be regarded as a prisoner of war. This case came before the court upon a certificate of division from the judges of the Circuit Court for Indiana on a petition for discharge from unlawful imprisonment. The case was thus: an act of Congress, the Judiciary Act of 1789, Section 14, enacts that the Circuit Courts of the United States shall have power to issue writs of habeas corpus, and that either of the justices of the Supreme Court as well as judges of the District Court shall have power to grant writs of habeas corpus for the purpose of an inquiry into the cause of commitment, provided, and then it moves, cuts over to another. Another act, that of March 3rd, 1863, relating to habeas corpus and regulating judicial proceedings in certain cases. An act passed in the midst of the rebellion makes various provisions in regard to the subject of it. The first section authorizes the suspension during the rebellion of the writ of habeas corpus throughout the United States by the President. Two following sections limited the authority in certain respects. The second section required that lists of all persons being citizens of the states in which the administration of the laws had continued unimpaired in the federal courts, who were then held or might therefore be held as prisoners of the United States under the authority of the President, otherwise than as prisoners of war, should be furnished by the Secretary of State as Secretary of War to the judges of the circuit and district courts. These lists were to contain the names of all persons residing within their respective jurisdictions charged with violation of national law. And it was required in cases where the grand jury in attendance upon any of these courts should terminate its session without proceeding by indictment or otherwise against any prisoner named in the list, that the judge of the court should forthwith make an order that such prisoner desiring a discharge should be brought before him or the court to be discharged on entering into recognizance, if required to keep the peace and for good behavior, or to appear as the court might direct to be further dealt with according to law. Every officer of the United States having custody of such prisoners was required to obey and execute the judge's orders. Judge's order under penalty for refusal or delay of fine and imprisonment. The third section acts in case lists of persons other than prisoners of war then held in confinement or thereafter arrested should not be furnished within 20 days after the passage of the act, or in cases of subsequent arrest within 20 days after the time of arrest, that any citizen after the termination of a session of the grand jury without indictment or presentment might by petition alleging the facts and verified by oath obtained by the judge's order of discharge in favor of any person so imprisoned on the terms and conditions prescribed in the second section. This act made it the duty of the district attorney of the United States to attend examinations on petitions for discharge. By proclamation dated the 15th September following, the President reciting the statute suspended the privilege of the writ in the cases where, by his authority, military, naval, and civil officers of the United States hold persons in their custody either as prisoners of war, spies, or aiders and abettors of the enemy, or belonging to the land or naval forces of the United States, or otherwise amendable to military law or the rules and articles of law, or articles of war, or the rules or regulations prescribed for the military or naval services by authority of the President, or for resisting a draft, or for any other offense against the military or naval services. With both these statutes and this proclamation in force, Landon P. Milligan, a citizen of the United States and a resident and citizen of the state of Indiana, was arrested on the 5th of October, 1864 at his home in the said state by the order of Brevet Major General Hovey, a military commandant of the District of Indiana, and by the same authority confined in a military prison at or near Indianapolis, the capital of the state. On the 21st day of the same month, he was placed on trial before a military commission convened in Indianapolis by order of the said general upon the following charges preferred by Major Burnett, Judge Advocate of the Northwestern Military Department, namely: 1. Conspiracy against the government of the United States. 2. Affording aid and comfort to rebels against the authority of the United States. 3. Inciting insurrection. 4. Disloyal practices. And 5. Violation of the laws of war. Under each of these charges, there were various specifications. The substance of them was joining and aiding at different times between October 1863 and August 1864, a secret society known as the Order of American Knights or Sons of Liberty for the purpose of overthrowing the government and duly constituted authorities of the United States holding communication with the enemy, conspiring to seize munitions of war stored in the arsenals, to liberate prisoners of war, etc., resisting the draft, etc. At a period of war and armed rebellion against the authority of the United States at or near Indianapolis and various other places specified in Indiana, a state within the military lines of the Army of the United States and the theater of military operations, in which had been and was constantly threatened to be invaded by the enemy. These were amplified and stated with various circumstances. An objection by him to the authority of the commission to try him being overruled, Milligan was found guilty on all the charges and sentenced to suffer death by hanging. And this sentence having been approved, he was ordered to be executed on Friday, the 19th of May, 1865. On the 10th of that same May, 1865, Milligan filed his petition in the Circuit Court of the United States for the District of Indiana, by which or by the documents appended to which as exhibits the above facts appeared. These exhibits consisted of the order for the commission, the charges and specifications, the findings and sentence of the court, with a statement of the fact that the sentence was approved by the President of the United States, who directed that it should be carried into execution without delay, all by order of the Secretary of War. The petition set forth the additional fact that while the petitioner was held and detained, as already mentioned, in military custody in more than 20 days after his arrest, a grand jury of the Circuit Court of the United States for the District of Indiana was convened in Indianapolis, his said place of confinement, and duly impaneled, charged, and sworn for said district, held its sittings, and finally adjourned without having found any bill of indictment or made any presentment whatsoever against him. That at no time had he been in the military service of the United States or in any way connected with the land or naval forces or the militia in actual service, nor with the limits of any state whose citizens were engaged in rebellion against the United States at any time during the war, but during all the time aforesaid, and for 20 years last past, he had been an inhabitant, resident, and citizen of Indiana. And so that it had been wholly out of his power to have acquired belligerent rights or to have placed himself in such relation to the government as to have enabled him to violate the laws of war. The record in stating who appeared in the Circuit Court ran thus. Be it remembered that on the 10th day of May, A.D. 1865, in the court aforesaid, before the judges aforesaid, comes Jonathan W. Jordan, Esquire, of counsel for said Milligan, and files here in open court a petition of said Milligan to be discharged. At the same time comes John Hanna, Esquire, the attorney prosecuting the pleas of the United States in this behalf, and thereupon, by agreement, this application is submitted to the court and by day is given. The prayer of the petition was that under the already mentioned Act of Congress of March 3, 1863, the petitioner might be brought before the court and either turned over to the proper civil tribunal to be proceeded with according to the law of the land, or discharged from custody altogether. At the hearing of the petition in the Circuit Court, the opinions of the judges were opposed upon the following questions. 1. On the facts stated in the petition and exhibits ought a writ of habeas corpus to be issued according to the prayer of said petitioner. 2. On the facts stated in the petition and exhibits ought the said Milligan to be discharged from custody as in said petition prayed. 3. Whether upon the facts stated in the petition and exhibits the military commission had jurisdiction legally to try and sentence said Milligan in manner and form as in said petition and exhibit is stated. And these questions were certified to this court under the provisions of the Act of Congress of April 29, 1802, an act which provides that whenever any question shall occur before a circuit court, upon which the opinions of the judges shall be opposed, the point upon which the disagreement shall happen shall during the same term upon the request of either party or either counsel be stated under the direction of the judges and certified under the seal of the court to the Supreme Court at their next session to be held thereafter, and shall by the said court be finally decided, and the decision of the Supreme Court and their order in the premises shall be remitted to the circuit court and be there entered of record, and shall have effect according to the nature of the said judgment and order, provided that nothing herein contained shall prevent the cause from proceeding, if in the opinion of the court further proceedings can be had without prejudice to the merits. The three several questions above mentioned were argued at the last term, and along with them an additional question raised in this court, namely 4, a question of jurisdiction as 1, whether the circuit court had jurisdiction to hear the case there presented, 2, whether the case sent up here by certificate of division was so sent up in conformity with the intention of the Act of 1802. In other words, whether this court had jurisdiction of the questions raised by the certificate. Mr. J. E. McDonald, Mr. J. S. Black, Mr. J. H. Garfield, Mr. David Dudley Field for the petitioner, Mr. McDonald opening the case fully and stating and examining the preliminary proceedings. Mr. Speed, A.J., Mr. Stanberry, A.G., Mr. Stansbury, Mr. B.F. Butler, Special Counsel for the United States Contra, Mr. Stanbury confining himself to the question of jurisdiction under the Act of 1802. All right, we'll move forward in the next reading. Thank you.
All right, so let me get back to the screen share to wrap up the presentation. This should still be doing free conference call, and Telegram should do, yeah, it's doing free conference call. So this gets us back to here. And that was pages 1 through 8. And there is the link for it so that you can have the PDF itself. Evidently Telegram, let's see, why is this not sharing? Now we should be able to see, hopefully. Telegram is not showing that. Why not? Let's see. All right. Let's see this. We'll just go ahead and there we go. That way you can see. Oh, and Joe's on the call with us. All right. We're getting close to wrapping up, getting to that point here. And so we want to welcome Joe to the call. Move this over. All right. So then we have more details about the Jural assembly. I really hope Rumble is screen sharing as it should be. I don't know what's going on with it. And we'll get this here. So it should. Oh, good. Okay. So, and then the Jural assembly information, there's the state grand jury trial court, state of state grand jury trial courts, and the postal area grand jury and trial courts. And then who is eligible? All state nationals and state citizens are eligible of the jury pool and are part of the Jural assembly. And then here are the different roles within the jury pool or within the Jural assembly. So there's the justice of the peace, a Jural assembly secretary. So it's not like a recording secretary within the Jural assembly, because that's where the General Assembly is filling the needs with recording secretaries for status correction. But the Jural assembly secretary is keeping the minutes of the court proceedings, keeping all the documents together and so forth. And then the recorder actually keeps it on the record. Then there's the court clerk and the various roles with the court clerk is kind of lengthy too, right? Then there's the bondsman. Yes, even the coroner is housed within the Jural Assembly. Then there are the sheriffs within, have oversight within the Jural Assembly as well, even though they have, because peacekeepers fit within all 4 pillars. All right, so there's more information about getting deeper into the sheriff role as well. Then there's committees for the Jural Assembly, because again, that's where the work actually gets done. So here's a list of those committees. Right now, I've got an email working through that's a list of all the General Assembly committees, working through to try and get members to volunteer and step up for those roles as well. But you can see even there's the Land Patent Committee within the Jural Assembly. The litigation committee is going to be huge in getting things going, to moving things forward with supporting. And then here's just an overcap of those who are in the jury pool. All right, Assembly Militia, I'm just going to leave that to where, because you can see here, as well as there's militia coordinator role needed. So that's where we talked about the different levels of officers that within the agenda, present for the agenda. So here are the key roles that we're looking for. The chairman pro tem, which is the spokesman or speaker, not any kind of CEO, secretary pro tem, and marshal at arms. And you can see what the status is, status correction for those. But they still have to have, even as a national, still have to have all the cancellations completed. And there's a background check because it's for an elected official and that sort. All right, then here are the 2 links for assembly offices, the call to public office, so you can get a little bit more detail also of the roles. And a lot of the aforementioned information was coming from these documents. Here's the list of Anna's articles for this week. I thought this was a poignant one for you to be able to make sure and read, but obviously all of them. And of course, this time of year is a great one because Anna she's an amazing storyteller. And then same with A Tree and Its Branches, 1 and 2, those were great as well. All right, then here are the articles that are dealing with if you have legal cases that are involving money, not if any kind of cases that are relative if physical harm or property damage occurred, but a form of a tax collection. This is the same link as earlier that has the disclaimer to all the attorneys, doctors, and everyone, and the sole survivorship template. But again, you have to be status corrected to do the sole survivorship template. All right, so I'm going to just wanted to let you know that here I brought the map up of showing what, based on what I can figure from the drawing from borders, U.S. Borders and Customs, Custom and Border Patrol, as to the line as to how much is 100 air miles in of the border that the U.S. Customs controls. So if that way we had so if you start noticing whether there's questions out there, whether you're a border county or not, you're going to be within these counties in the northern county. So I will go ahead and wrap up my part so we can make sure we get Joe some time in here. Here's information on the medbed, first generation medbed that Anna brought forward in November of 2023. Here's some details about it. There's their website, contact information, as well as here's a link if you wanted to support bringing a medbed to Indiana. Here's a lot of the connections for the assembly, but you can also go to Linktree for everything listed there. Linktree is also opened up where I could add store items from the assembly's store. So I popped that over there as well. So some things, so you might go over and look and see how that's been updated. Again, check in on our Telegram at Home on Indiana, new general member orientation, as well as the American States Assembly channel is out there, and Peacekeeper channel is out there. Joe has links to those as well And just as a reminder, May 6th for General Assembly and May 13th for the next Jural Assembly. So I will go ahead and stop here. And I've got to give Joe the ability to, should be able to speak, allow to speak. There we go. I think we should be able to get you now, Joe. Welcome.
Hi, Christine.
Hello. How are you?
Well, last week I was in Iowa, and it was an hour's difference, and I just couldn't. I was going to sign in for Telegram, and I couldn't make it.
Oh. It's all right. It's all good.
Well,
Go ahead.
Yeah, we make. Now I'm on my way to New Hampshire.
Oh.
So welcome. Thanks for welcoming me to the Call Indiana Assembly. Now, Christine, though, I am sending you, as of last week, our introductory and training to the Assembly Liaison role.
Yes, I've been getting those links.
Okay. Now, if you don't have anybody, and since it is a March 1st initiative, this past March, so we've only met five iterations. But yes, there's various ways that anybody who's interested in what that Federation service provides the assemblies, you can definitely find out more about what that role entails, and it helps with the again furthering the assembly for qualifying for ex parte Milligan and all of that good stuff. So I don't know how you want to. Do you have any questions about what you've seen, Christine, yourself? Or you even had a chance to share.
I have not had a chance to go through it. I've been working through the new member orientation. The final session wrapped up yesterday for this month. So I've been working on it and getting it set up into a course app thing so I can do the knowledge review and have a certificate and things like that. So been diving, which will be, that'll lead the way to other course trainings that we can offer. But I have those, and I've planned to be able to put those together in an email so that I can be able to send it out to people so they can start paying attention, getting that information as well.
Yeah, and it is fresh, hot off the press, as they say. But it's been between a 6 and 8 month analytic dive into all of the moving parts. It's not a lot of moving parts. It's more potent than it is mechanized. That of the role of the assembly liaison. But assemblies that are kind of lower in participation or rather new.
Mm-hmm.
Either way, if you have people on your assembly who, of course, their status corrected, the role of assembly liaison is to build that interface with current local and state law enforcement with peacekeepers, their peacekeeping counterparts. So it's okay if anybody who's new or who is within the assembly who doesn't really feel that are capable of serving in an office can certainly attend our training and then return to their General Assembly and start assisting with that aspect. That means building the interface between, again, local and state law enforcement and Federation peacekeepers. So it's a really great opportunity for anyone, and even yourself, Christine, in the interim. If you'd like to attend those meetings, you're welcome to join as well.
Yes, and I'm that's on my plan too.
Yeah, I mean anybody. It's very intriguing, very exciting. It's very effective for outreach, for getting the assemblies recognized, for getting people who are liaisons to have their credential cards recognized through what's called a lawful people at large identifier. It's an additional database that the Federation is providing to really help build that out. And so liaisons, as they are quickly learning, they're in such a unique and effective situation within their assemblies, simply being that of the liaison and vouching for the assembly's existence and their role in it as just an interface. I don't want to minimize it. It's very, very effective role, and it's one that none of the assemblies have had up until this past March. Now, we do have 26 states already interested, and you do have someone in Indiana, I think it's Jeff Gonzalez, I think might be the name, or he might be interested. Or there's been an email come through our office, some from Indiana. I can confirm the name. It may not be him, but I'll send that to you so you can check that and build on that correspondence.
Okay.
But of course, himself or you or both can attend this weekend coming up 7:30 Eastern.
Okay.
For 90 minutes.
All right.
And that's all I have. But again, we do have the replays for at least the last two training iterations, and they're 2 weeks apart. So.
Yeah, and I had that you've sent me those links, and I've got to get those in. And so this weekend you have another call. So I can't promise that I will be on the call, but I will do my best to be on the call.
Right. Yeah, and then also the link to the enrollment form is also embedded in the email, if you've noticed. So if you do have anybody interested between now and this weekend, just simply fill out a really quick 2-minute enrollment form and just let us know, and then we'll send them the email the same as you received.
Okay.
All,
as well as I have it in the emails that are going out for the assembly calls with the militia agenda information for the website to go for the liaison, as well as in the agenda presentations too.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, it was really great. You was reading Milligan X Part. That was awesome.
Right? Yeah, I pulled it and I'm like, we finished up the other last week, so it was perfect.
Yeah, all of it is brilliant, but points 12 and 13 always stick out in my mind.
Right.
Yeah, so yeah, wonderful. And you'll notice that they was referring to, or at least the current administration at the time was referring to the law of war, but not the law of peace. So that was interesting.
Right.
How they came to that conclusion and freed that man because he wasn't. And it also gives more clarity as to what the landscape looked like at that time as a battle theater.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
And so they just for convenience they just assumed everybody is potential belligerent people working for the opposing elements in the entire conflict. So it's really revealing. And, and it's a bona fide fact that once the Americans stand up their common law courts, that the limited courts step aside. It's not that they shut down; they still have a service to provide in that realm. But the more and more people stand up and tread forward lawfully and peacefully as Americans and uphold the tenets of common law, then the American courts then take center stage.
Yep. Oh yeah. And that's where we have to remember the by the people comes in.
Yeah, and it took place on Indiana.
Down Indiana.
States of the North. Yeah, I would. Yeah, well, if you build it, they'll come.
That's right.
You definitely built it. I thought your presentation could not become more thorough, but you surprised me yet again. So really great presentations as always. So thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. And I am doing, like I said, I'm working out a course for the new member orientation where it'll give a quit knowledge review quiz and then certification. So that may be something that'll be helpful for the other states as well to be able to start getting some of that in play too.
Right.
Awesome. Well, we're glad you were able to come.
Yeah, and I'll try to make it on the May 6th.
Okay.
Well,
sounds good.
If there's room for me, yeah.
Oh yeah, you're always welcome. You're always welcome, Joe. We greatly appreciate you. You always bring wonderful things to the table.
We try. It's not just me. It's a small group of us that work together. And we're dedicated to helping the assemblies become, I guess, validated, if you will, within the eyes of our counterparts.
Right.
And our counterparts that are being the state of state function.
Mm-hmm. And it's dedication, it's commitment, following through, being disciplined with yourself in order to be disciplined to follow through with making things come into manifest, into life, into fruition, whatever word you want to use for it, to bring it into the reality.
And it gets much easier with every passing season.
Mhm.
And I'm maybe you process this the same way, Christine, but in my mind, it's a solid renewing investment. And I have little ones that I have to at some point in time. Their little ones, them and their little ones will come to dad and granddad and say, well, what did you do through all of this? Well, sit down, son, daughter,
Right.
grandson, granddaughter. Let's
Mhm.
talk about it. We'll share. We'll have stories to tell you.
Right.
Versus
Right.
saying, well, I didn't do anything. Well, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't want to be in that position.
No.
It's not really about that. It's just for the fact that everybody has some things that they can do,
Mhm.
whether they know it or not. It's just got to kind of cultivate that and inspire and motivate people, because people are amazing when they really put their
Oh,
heads
yes.
together. And yeah,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yep.
Well, thank you very much. I want to thank everyone for taking the time to come together. Again, take note of there are emails going out that are saying if you have a better day and time that works with your schedule, that if we need to work with that, we can present the top 3 to the General Assembly for a vote to see if that will work easier, to make it easier for you to be able to come to the table, to be able to participate and share with us. We're trying to be as helpful as we can, because it's by the people. We've got to be able to make the way for you to be able to get to the table so that you can be able to bring your support and services to help all of us. So we thank you. And again, May 6th is the next General Assembly call, and May 13th is the next Jural Assembly call at this point in time. And there's also emails going out that the next new member orientation starts the first Sunday in May, doing the first three Sundays in May for the General Assembly, or for the new member orientation call. So don't forget to register for that, so we can be able to start getting that moving forward to help others get that knowledge out there. All right. Thank you, everybody. I wish you all peace and love. Have a great night. Take care.
thank you.
Thank you.